Good afternoon, everyone. The cold is gonna tongue ya. Deep Arctic blast reaching down to the Texas border, singeing cold through the southeast U.S. Canadians used to cold, setting power records. Alberta, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia. So what's going to happen to our grids? If they break, can we fix them? Chips manufactured. Supply chains in chaos, 20-week delays. Tesla halting production. You probably won't be able to charge during this time. We'll keep ourselves warm with 42 million tires burning in Iraq. And we're going to start you right here. All of the warnings across the U.S. Anywhere you see color, it's about the cold. What type of cold might you ask? We got blizzard warnings, ice storm warnings, winter storm, high wind warnings. Choose your gale warning, your freezing mist warning, whatever you like. It's all covered right here. Heavy freezing. What does that mean for us? We're going to be drawing more power. Expect power outages because this Arctic tongue is going to lick ya. We're looking at these temperatures are, once in a lifetime for a lot of people to experience this multi-generation cold. Records is going to be set by hundreds or thousands of temperature stations breaking these records. So you can choose where you're on the map and then decide through the National Weather Service what your forecast is going to be. But I want you to look at this map here for a second. This encompasses most of the United States and Canada. There will be no extra power to redivert from one grid to another on a pole at record consumption levels. So these are the areas where it's cold normally in winter. We got Montana, we got Idaho, but there's something like 68 degrees below the normal temperature. So the temperatures you're seeing on here, these are temperature anomalies, something below the normal average temperature for this time of the year. So you're looking at, again, almost 70 degrees Fahrenheit below the normal temperatures. Now this one here is a wind chill map. I don't like using the wind chill, but you're going to hear it on the TV because the lower they go, the more disastrous it can be and the more you might pay attention. But now this starts to take us into the heartland in the crop growing areas, and some of these 40, 35, 40 below zero is the real feel, so they say. And even what is considered, vast open swaths of land where our crops are grown, still this type of temperature is a little bit rare. But where it's not rare is up in Canada. And this is the thing that you got to keep in mind. Alberta's now setting all-time electrical consumption records. So how cold is it when they're setting cold records and also setting electrical draw records? Saskatchewan, the exact same thing. They're right up at the edge. They're going to surpass their all-time load demand probably in the next couple of hours. You can see that tomorrow morning. And as we look at the load, this is the most important thing here that caused the Texas out. Grid down a couple of years ago, the renewables were not functional. And here we are looking at renewables operating at 0.2% capacity. That's 0.2% out of a full 100% possibility. Wind farms down, solar down. Wide that out for you. You can see the all percent of renewables looking scrappy at best there. Hydro is going to be the possible best. And that leaves us back to the old reliables. Gold has soared past $2,000 an ounce. Wars in Israel and the Ukraine. Rate cuts on the table are fueling gold's meteoric rise. Meanwhile, our national debt is skyrocketing higher above $34 trillion. There's a direct correlation to the national debt and the price of gold. Call the proud Americans, the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Mention the Adapt 2030 channel. You're going to get some great in-class service. Also, Patriot Gold Group has a no fee for life IRA where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold or silver. No fee for life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Give them a call, 888-546-7020. And now on with the video. And this is the thing to think about. The draw on the grid is going to be every grid. It is going to be record consumption across grids in the United States. Now, since the Texas outage, even in the Tennessee Valley Authority and the TVA, they have transitioned 1.5% to renewables each year. So for those of you in the Southeast on TVA Power, they have 3% less traditional generated from gas, thermal, and moved over into wind and solar, a 3% generation jump. So that means that the power outage this time will occur 3% faster on the load than it did at the record consumption when the Texas grid took down and we got into those rolling blackouts. Remember that? We were out for 3 hours, on for 3 hours, off for 4 hours, on for 2 hours, and it was really a bad schedule. Finally, after the second day, they smoothed it out towards like 3 on, 3 off, 3. But that first day, completely unreliable. You didn't have any scheduling. It just went on and off with no warnings. And that was the thing, no warnings. It just turned off. So you can expect this again, TVA, Texas. I saw some numbers from ERCOT, and they were saying that the max capacity during that power outage in the previous largest draw on the grid, they had produced a record 66 gigawatts. Well, this time they're expecting a draw of 80 gigawatts. Now, they've hardened some stations up. They've done a few remodels and revamps, and they've also added renewables in on top of that for an extra 3%. So actually, this time they're anticipating that they could go to 69 gigawatts, including the renewables installed since that event. And also with the pumping stations, they've done something with the electrical. Again, it's all relied on the electrical to keep the pumping stations fully functional versus last time. But if they're going to go grid down again, then that's all kind of a moot point. We'll see how it plays out. The thing was, during that event, not everywhere was pulling record consumption, and there was still available electricity to send from points west or points east to get it over to Texas to smooth the load so they didn't take down the entire national grid. This time, this is a way different animal. They're pulling record power in Canada, so there will be zero, less than zero. We're sending them power in the United States. So then we got the record pull on our grids down here, and Canada's pulling records, and east, south, north, and west in America is going to be pulling records. So is this a dark winter dry run script here is the question to really be asked. We're going to be tripping on power grids. They're going to be going down. Expect your blackouts. Get your generators ready. And all I can say is this is going to be one for the record books, and people are very unprepared. I'm looking at further models on the GFS, and I'm seeing that, 6, 5, 4 degrees in East Tennessee. They're trying to show you 8 or 9 now. Some places in Knoxville, for example, they were trying to show like 12, 14 degrees, and what I'm looking at is something like 7 degrees. So I don't know how the weather bureaus are so far off on their forecasts out 3 days, unless they're trying to show that it's not going to be a trend colder. And this is kind of a scary thing that they're willing to, be off by 8 or 9 degrees when you need to keep your pets safe. You need to get everything secured. You need to get your pipes ready. You need to get your generators ready. And they're telling you that it's going to be far warmer than it actually is going to be. That's a travesty. Truly it is. In this day and age, we're at this point where they're going to leave your safety at risk for a narrative. That's ridiculous. But anyway, you're going to have to get ready. It's inbound, and it's going to be, you're going to have to get ready to go without power for some time, off and on, off and on. Now, you got generators, great. If you don't, you're going to need to get with a neighbor who does, or figure this out, because if you don't have power for an extended period of time, 3, 4, 5, 6 days through this cold event, and it comes on sporadically, but you don't know when, your life is absolutely going to be altered. So this is going to be a life-altering, short period event. And if you've known anything about the dark winter script, they talk about anywhere from weeks to months without power, but I don't think it's this time. I think this is, like I say, like a dry run, a test run to see how it's going to be, how people are going to freak out, and how much power can be rediverted or not, or how the grid's going to trip, break. And if it does, if there's really this much pull, it's going to affect the entire national grid. Now, what if the whole grid goes down until they figure it out? Well, this is a huge problem because we can't get repair parts through the Red Sea right now. And if you think you're going to be charging your Tesla during this time or your electric vehicles, you are sorely mistaken. A, they're probably not going to run. They're canceling flights because the de-icing fluid isn't staying liquid. It's solidifying on the aircraft. So they're canceling flights left, right, and center because of the cold, the wings. It's too cold for de-icing fluid, and you think you're going to charge your battery-operated car and cruise around in temperatures like this? if you even have a grid to recharge a thing. The reason I talk about Tesla is they're halting Berlin production because of Red Sea disruptions. Now take this a step out. What happens if generators are tripping? What happens if we have catastrophic failures through our U.S. grid and we need to get a huge amount of parts in quick fashion? Well, look at the supply chain chaos. Even the electronic component maker is at a 20-week delay. This is the second largest producer on the planet at a 20-week delay. Let that sink in for a second. You order today, 20 weeks later you get it at best. Custom, you're looking at 40 weeks. That's nearly a year. So just boil it back down to the basics. We might need some semiconductor chips to re-repair something. Where are the chips manufactured? Well, South Korea, China, Taiwan, Japan, Southeast Asia, very little bit. In the Americas, 8%. OCL lines and a huge amount of carriers are not running through the Red Sea area anymore. And for them to take it from Asia, they're going to either have to go around South Africa or around South America to get it here. So more delays in the shipping. And since I'm on the subject, take a look at the red circle where ships aren't. You know, after the Houthi thing, it's going to get flaring over there. A lot of huge disruptions are inbound. 95% of container ships that would have transited the Red Sea are now going around. So let's take a look. This is a nice map here. Look at the orange. Those are the rerouted vessels that are now in motion to the Americas, also to points in Asia. So think of the disruption just in that. If we need instant repair parts like it used to be there on a plane, it's going to be too expensive. You can't move a transformer on a plane. I guess you could a C-130, but is the military going to get involved? I highly doubt it. They're too bogged down around the rest of the planet. Now looking at the tongue that's going to lick the U.S. here. These are extreme temperatures for the southeast U.S. This blob of iciness is going to come cascading through. And look at some of those temperatures down in Louisiana. 18 degrees Fahrenheit in Louisiana on the coast. 19 and 20 degrees in coastal Alabama. You realize the houses aren't insulated for that. The amount of infrastructure damage, if you thought the Texas pipe bursting after the power outage was bad, it's going to be worse across the southeast U.S. Pipes aren't even that far below ground to weather something like this. And notice the time date, the stamps on this. This thing starts on approximately the 15th, and it rolls for 7 or 8 days of extreme cold. Pipes are going to be, there's going to be a huge, can I say a huge amount of infrastructure damage on this event here. And as we roll through, this is the 21st, you can still see that cold all the way down to Tennessee there. Trying to keep our animals protected. And Kevin and Ryan, thank you for helping out with our ducks and chickens. Shout out to y'all. Because this cold is going to then start to spin up to the northeast U.S. And if they hadn't already been damaged enough from that freeze. So let's focus in on the southeast U.S. This is going to be one of the most greatly affected areas because this kind of cold is not normal. Ohio, yeah, they get it. New York, yeah, they're used to the cold. Florida, central Georgia, like say Louisiana, they're not used to this. So this is where a lot of the news stories are going to focus out of extremes that are happening in communities and also to agriculture, as well as you're going to see road closures and a huge amount of accidents, especially when the ice sweeps in and this sort of thing. Like bridges will ice during this event, so please be careful while you're driving. And it's come out through the 20th. You can see how that cold is still holding there. It's going to take a few more days for it to release. So you are going to need to get ready. This is a massive event. And while you're at it, think about growing some of your own food because with these disruptions in supply chains moving into the spring, which begging spring, please come faster. You're going to have to think about growing your own food. Check out this course from Marjorie Wildcraft. It's free. It's a free webinar. Goes through a huge amount of details on how to, get your raised beds up, what can maybe do with some chickens, how do you get your veg up and running. But it's linked in the description box below, along with a couple links for the National Weather Service so you can follow the warnings in real time. I do appreciate you watching. Hope you got something out of the video. Bye for now.